Very rarely do we come across characters that make us feel sympathetic and disturbed all at once. Even rarer an occurrence is perhaps running into a show that delves deeper into the complexities of the female psyche. Luckily for us, the Showtime series Yellowjackets provides a delicious mix of both of these things. It introduces us to the terrifying and equally fascinating Misty Quigley. Let's explore her character in more detail in this video. For starters, what makes Misty so compelling? If you don't know what we're talking about, we suggest you find out for yourself, because Yellowjackets is a brand new series on Showtime, and it's not even getting half the attention it deserves. We'll get into the details of what makes this show such a fascinating watch, but first, let's address the subject of this video. We're all literally taking out time right now just to sit down and psychoanalyze the inner workings of the mind of Misty Quigley, but we think a character as cleverly crafted as her deserves the added attention. But what makes Misty so compelling is a very simple thing. Actually, it's the fact that she's human, and that's perhaps the major issue with a lot of teen shows. Women aren't really portrayed as complex humans capable of making morally gray decisions. They are either the victims or the vamps, but Misty brings us a unique blend of both of these categories. And that becomes more and more clear as we watch her struggle to make difficult decisions during the show. So buckle your seatbelts, because we have a lot of spoilers on this ride. Let's talk about why it's crucial to have characters such as her. Complex female characters with a range of complicated emotions, women doing more than just being eye candy in the media. Is that even possible? Who would have thought, right? But it's crucial to have complex female characters in shows because it allows for more realistic and nuanced representations of women in media. Complex female characters are more relatable and believable than one-dimensional characters, and they can help to challenge and break down stereotypes about women. Having complex female characters in shows also helps to promote diversity and inclusivity in media because it allows for a wider range of experiences and perspectives to be represented. This can be especially important for young viewers, as media can have a powerful influence on how they view and understand the world. Seeing women like Quigley makes young girls feel like it's okay to be confused and sometimes mess up. She also inspires people of all genders to be more empathetic and understanding of others. We can't help but forgive her for all her errors, simply because we have a clear picture of her motives, and her motives appear to be as human as they get. Moving on, time for a little more context. It would be so much more convenient for us to go on rambling about the show and analyze the major characters if we operate on the assumption that you'll all know exactly what we're referring to. But hey, it's part of our job to make our viewers aware of the context too. So before we get into the details of Quigley's thought-provoking character, let's talk a bit about the show and its relevance. There's a reason why Yellowjackets has garnered the applause that it has so far, and why it was literally selected for an Emmy quite recently. The show came out in 2021 and provided us with the perfect blend of Lord of the Flies or Lost mixed with subtextual commentary on the role of women in such situations. It's the story of a female soccer team that has been stranded in the Ontario wilderness. The show examines the journey of various female characters as they try to survive the odds and make it out alive. It ranges from themes such as female friendships, betrayal, love, and the human need for survival, and even delves into subjects such as cannibalism. Phew, it's like the show gives us a class on human nature, simultaneously while providing us with engaging and entertaining content. And perhaps one of the best things to come out of the show is the character of Miss Misty herself. Coming up, why is she our favorite character? Listen, it would be unfair of us to glamorize her character to the point that we forget that she's done some very questionable things. But then again, when have we ever denied having a soft spot for the black sheep or the misunderstood characters with a traumatic past? Take Loki, for example, or even the Joker. There are reasons why people sympathize with them even despite all the evil they commit. It's because it seems as if they have good reason to resort to the means that we see them resorting to. And the same argument applies to her. From the moment she showed up on the screen with her nerdy outlook and her socially awkward demeanor, she's put us in quite the pickle. Yeah, she may have destroyed the plane that could have rescued all the other girls, and she may have indulged in mild torture just so she could later play the savior for her coach. And yes, we remember the time when she only agreed to embark on a journey with Tessa so the others would like her, even when fully knowing that the journey was doomed to end in disaster. But hey, she did this all for acceptance and for love. And what's more human than our inherent need to be loved? Let's look at why Quigley's mistakes are redeemable. This girl literally arrived in the woods on her own. She was already subject to trauma and bullying in her regular life. She had always been an outcast, and this group of girls was her first chance at experiencing something even close to what having a community, her own pack of wolves, would feel like. Everything Misty did was an attempt to seek the validation and acceptance of others. Come on, guys, the poor girl just wanted to belong for once, and her desire for belonging made her make some questionable decisions. But hey, we've all made mistakes too in our lives. Perhaps we see ourselves in this lost little girl, and that's why we have such a soft spot for her. The average viewer would deem her redeemable, purely because she's such a complex character. You don't have to like her, but you'll have to admit that she gets the wheels of your brain in action. In real life, people are not all good or all evil. normal, and it's even more common for people to have a mix of both positive and negative qualities. Moral complexity can also make characters more interesting because it adds depth and nuance to their motivations and actions. For example, a character who is struggling with their own sense of right and wrong may make choices that are difficult or conflicted, which can be more engaging for the audience. That's what we feel when we witness her on screen. Up next, but what about the terrifying aspects of Quigley? So far, we've only dived into why her inner moral conflict makes Misty so fascinating. But then again, the very same dilemma is what makes her such a terrifying force to reckon with. The thing is, it would be unfair of us to completely overlook the fact that this inherent desire for validation and acceptance can lead to ugly outcomes. Moral complexity allows for more flexibility in how a character is portrayed and how that can be used in a story. A character who is all good or all evil may be limited in their actions and may not be able to participate in certain plot points or conflicts. A character with moral complexity, on the other hand, has more flexibility and can be used in a variety of different contexts. And while this may be a good thing in certain contexts, it can also mean that she can be a lot of trouble for the rest of the characters. Like the time when she found out that the journalist that was interviewing them was actually a fixer called Jessica, and that she decided to kill her with a fentanyl-laced cigarette. Yikes! That one is a little hard to defend. But the interesting thing here is that Jessica, being as shrewd as she was, almost got out of it alive, because she knew that all this little lonely nerd ever wanted was praise. And the praise seemed to have almost done the trick, except obviously she faltered and died. But come on guys, Quigley isn't the only character who committed murder. Why all the hate then? Moving forward, hunger for validation can be deadly. Okay, we don't deny that being this desperate for external validation and acceptance can be a bad thing, especially when the consequence of her not being able to get that approval ends up in people potentially dying. You see, her motive may be human, but it's also a slippery slope, and the sheer magnitude of her desire is what makes it all the scarier. This need is likely rooted in her experiences as a child when she was bullied and made to feel unworthy and invisible. In an effort to overcome these feelings of inadequacy and to gain the acceptance and validation that she craves, Misty is willing to do whatever it takes, even if it means engaging in risky or harmful behaviors. This includes behavior towards herself and others. This is the scary bit. Lastly, can this character's need for approval also make her a good friend? There are two sides to every coin. Sometimes a thing that can be seen as bad can lead to good outcomes too. And while it's true that a dependency on other people's acceptance can typically be a bad thing, we can also argue that this need is what makes Quigley perhaps the only good friend on the show. Don't believe us? Well, despite her mistakes, she literally is always the first one to jump to her feet when there's a call for action. She was the only one who had the guts to do the hard thing, only because she knew it was the right thing to do, like amputating her coach's leg to save his life. She also was the only one who volunteered to accompany Natalie when she needed a ride upstate to visit an old friend. These are just two examples of moments on the show when the outcast was the first to jump at an opportunity of helping her friends out. Yes, we're overlooking the fact that she orchestrated these situations, but hey, then again, people-pleasing can be a good thing. And that's a wrap for today. What are your thoughts on this complicated character? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and see you next time.